that want to listen that aren't able to be here today. So if you want to turn your cameras off, feel free to do that. But she's going to capture questions and kind of group them together so that I can respond to them in a more efficient way as we go through. That's our goal. We'll see how we do with that. So that said, I am Ruby Brown Herring with my business is RBH Wellness Solutions, but I have been a mental health first aid instructor since 2014. Have coordinated mental health first aid for North Carolina. I did that for about 14 months until our funding ended unexpectedly, which led to me starting my business. And I have a totally different um, target for that now. I use mental health first aid as part of the wellness work that I do in workplaces, but am also one of the admins for the virtual Facebook group. So I'm excited to be here. I've tried to be helpful to folks in the Facebook group, as I know many of you have been. But just as I saw questions coming up, I just was like, okay, maybe there's something else that I can kind of capture people together and try to handle some of those, answer some of those questions for them. And so Megan is my partner in crime because we have been collaborating for several years now. Just in some just general stuff, mental health first aid related to being an independent instructor and whatnot. And so she's here to kind of, again, be supportive and also offer some insight. But one of the things at the end that you may have seen posted in the Facebook group as well is that she and I are going to be continuing this in a more hands-on, long-term relationship way. And so we may talk about that at the end for folks that are looking for more ongoing coaching type stuff. All right. So I'm going to quickly just kind of show what I'm going to talk about. There's a training tracking document that I've put together that I use for individual trainings that I do, but also for trainings that I coordinate for other organizations. I have even put together a course content template for that ILT section in Connect where we list the Zoom link. I'm going to share all of those with you and kind of talk about those templates for that I send to host groups. So if I have an organization, that's my main point of contact. They have a specific email that outlines everything that they need to communicate to their participants. And then there's an email to participants specifically that I actually pulled from the virtual Facebook group files section that Michelle Pylan had put together. And so you may have seen that, but I thought it would be good just to pull it for as another example for folks to have, because sometimes it's hard to navigate where the files are in that Facebook group. And then I'll talk about my enrolling process, because I think that's one of the things that really stresses a lot of people out. How do you enroll folks in Connect without having to be in Connect 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? And so I've developed a process that works for me, and I'm hoping that you can take some of that information and adapt it to your needs as well. And then there's one piece that in the user profile enrolling piece, as a user starts to create their profile, there's a question that usually comes up that folks aren't sure how to answer, and it's the wording. So I'm going to talk about that too. But that just kind of gives you a quick overview of what I wanted to cover. So we're not going to have slides the entire time. So that's the only slide that I have. But that said, let me next just get you, if you will, tell us who you are. And I'm going to put in the chat what I'd like to hear from folks. Your name or your city, and then length of being instructor. Okay. And so, if you will, I'm not going to do go across my list and call folks. I'll just allow you to introduce yourselves in any way that you want to. If you actually, what may help to prevent folks from talking over each other is using the raise your hand feature if you want to verbally introduce yourself, but also feel free to do as Celia did and just put your introduction in the chat. That's perfectly fine too. And so I'll pause here and allow that first person that wants to introduce themselves to do so.
Hi, I can go first.
Thank you, Stacey.
My name is Stacey Ashmore, and I work for Illinois Primary Healthcare Association in Illinois, and I'm the behavioral health program manager. I was trained about, actually, I think it was like right when the pandemic happened, so I did the virtual training, and I was trained through my work, so I can provide the trainings to our community health centers that we have throughout the state of Illinois. So I'm excited to be here. I'm fairly new. I've done a couple of trainings, but I would love to learn more.
Wonderful. Welcome again. And so it looks like we've got Celia's introduction in the chat. As I mentioned, she's in Rochester, New York. They've been an instructor for a year, have not done any trainings, and just how do you start with the new Connect program? So thank you for that, Celia, and I will definitely touch on that. And I've actually have a training I need to set up, so I might actually walk through that piece a little bit, kind of high level stuff. And then Patrice, Cincinnati, 18 months. Megan, Rochester, New York, 6 years. Berna is in Tacoma, Washington. Wonderful. What's the weather like in Tacoma, Berna? Is it snowy and cold?
Today, it's beautiful right this minute. So it's one of those places where it changes frequently. We've gone from snow and freezing to this.
Wonderful. Welcome. And so, she's taught about 30 classes in person or online, just certified as an adult instructor. Wonderful. And then Lisa is from Flint, Michigan, has been an instructor for 8 years. Fabulous. Anybody else wants to take time to introduce themselves that hasn't done so?
I think I put my information in the chat, but hello everyone, I'm Stephanie Jackson. Ruby, thank you. Ruby knows me well.
Glad you can make it.
And so I guess 2.5 years as a trainer, and it'll be a year in March for the virtual training. I work for Texas Health. I'm out of Fort Worth. It's 70 degrees here today. I work for Texas Health Resources, which is one of the largest health institution in this area, DFW area. We have about 14 hospitals, but we do outreach to the community. So we work with work sites and other restaurants and a host of many others, universities, schools. And so we're able to provide this training to our external partners that we partner with through our Blue Zones work. And so I'm just excited to be here. I sent in one question. I have more.
Okay.
You might not be able to answer all of them today, but I'll tag you at another time if you can. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. And thank you everybody else that has taken time to introduce yourself in the chat or verbally too. I'm excited. So that said, I'm going to start with the first thing I think I had on the list was the training tracking document. And so I know there's a couple ways that you can use this. And again, this is just what I have found works for me. And again, I'll share it in the chat as well, but let's see. So one of the things that I do, because I am an instructor and I do some coordination, and so too many things going on at one time for me. And so this is what helped. And I know somebody else put one in the Facebook group, but I couldn't find it in the files section. So if I go back and find it, because theirs looks a little differently than mine, I'll bump that up and remind folks to take a look at it. But I have just an Excel spreadsheet, and this is a project that I'm working on with the Federal Highway Administration. But I put all of my training dates in, my times, because we train across we do Eastern, Central, and Pacific time zone trainings for them. I list audience because they are doing supervisors by themselves and then regular employees by themselves, but you could easily change this to be an organization. So if you're in training for specific organizations, you could just put everybody on this one sheet. And then for sessions that I have contractors training, I track who's assigned to each training. And so instructor number 1, instructor number 2. And then this is kind of my prompt. So this is now, since it's Connect, it's actually been changed to 14 business days. So I now tell my host organizations 14 days. So the Highway Workers Administration, their next training is February 23rd. And so they touched base with me this week, and they know that they will need to have their roster to me 14 days before February 23rd. So that gives me time to send the invite out. It gives their folks time to do the acceptance and set up the pre-work, do the pre-work and whatnot before the class happens. So at least 14 days is when I want to have that stuff sent out. And I track it because, again, I've had host organizations say, oh, no, I sent it to you. And I'm like, nope, this is the date. And so this is just, again, the things that work for me. So you can take this and kind of look at and adjust it to meet your needs. I list when I add the course in Connect, because you can set the course up in Connect. Like today, I'm going to model the one that they're doing on the 23rd. I can set that up today, even though I don't have the rosters. I track when I send invites out, the course ID, because if I have to do a request form, we have to know the ID. And so that keeps me from going back into Connect to the course list. So I track the ID. And so from here on out, from this column over is really for after the training billing purposes. Because we all may have heard there are some invoices. So invoices typically are sent to the lead instructor. So the one listed as course owner within 48 business hours after the training ends. So there's a training that I'm coordinating that started yesterday. They did 3 hours yesterday. They're doing 3 hours today. So within 48 hours of today, so this is what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So by Monday, I should have the invoice. So the Connect invoice is sent within 48 hours. So I track after attendance, after the session, the number of people that attended. And then when the Connect invoice comes in, I put the number here, the amount, and then when I pay it, just so that I'm staying on track with that. And then I have a comment section because there's always something that I have to remind myself about. So I am going to put this in the chat and you can download it. But also, if you will, because I know sometimes it's hard to download from here. Oh, gotta close it first. Lovely. Okay, so let me stop sharing. If you will also put your email in the chat, I'll save the chat at the end. Then I can email all of these files to you too. Yep. Lisa, go ahead. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I heard correctly. So you said that the invoice gets sent to, and I thought you said the lead instructor, but what?
The last thing, I heard you say,
oh,
I thought you said the lead instructor, and then you were muted. So
okay,
can you,
sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, there was a call that came in. I was trying to get rid of it. Yeah, so if we are contracting with somebody, we wouldn't want the invoice to go to them. We would want it to come to us.
Right. So let me show you what I mean.
Okay.
And that's a really good question. So for instance, with I'm going to pull up. Okay. Let me share my screen quickly. So this is a training that I coordinated for. If you're in the virtual Facebook group, everybody probably has seen Joe Ankus post things. So I coordinated a training for him. And so even though I was the coordinator, when you're in Connect, so if you go to courses and select the course and then go to, it comes up on info, additional settings. So the person that is the course owner is the person that gets the invoice. So it can only be an instructor. So this is usually, if I have 2 instructors training, this is usually my instructor number 1. I don't, initially it's you, when you're setting the course up as a coordinator, if you're not an instructor and you're coordinating, so like this, when I initially set this up as the coordinator, I'm listed as the course owner, but in the Connect user guide, it tells you how to switch it out to the person that's going to be the instructor. And so that's what I did here. And so the email goes to Joe, and I wanted him to be the course owner. So even if you're coordinating and you're not the instructor for that class, you want to change the course owner to the lead instructor, or whoever, if it's only one person, to that person, so that they can have access to the information in Connect. As the coordinator, you still see it, just like I can still see it here for Joe. So I can do enrollments and track stuff like that. But this allows him to have ownership of the course for the instructor-led training day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm still not clear, like, what if you're the one that is going to pay the bill, I guess, Joe's not going to pay the bill. He's the one that's teaching the class. How do you make sure that you get the invoice to pay it and not Joe?
Gotcha. I got you. So I tell Joe, send me the invoice. When you get the email, send it to me so I can pay it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Processing. I didn't process that right in my head. Yes. So yeah. And that's what I do with my highway workers contract. Each of my instructors, I tell them, once you get, and Megan's been an instructor for that project, once you get the invoice, send it to me, and then I track it and I process it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Wonderful. Any other questions kind of around the tracking the training thing? I see you nodding, Verna. You have a question? Yep. Yes. So if the agency is paying, all you have to do is forward them that email. It will have, let me pull up one real quick because I've got some I need to actually pay. Let's see, let me categorize. Let me find one. Okay, here's one. So here's one that Megan sent me for training, and I just got paid by the host. So she forwarded it to me. All I have to do now is click complete your purchase. And so if I forward this to the host, they would pay. They would be able to pay it online right then. So yes, you can forward it to them, and it calculates the taxes. And again, the way the National Council is calculating tax is based upon, let me go back to the right page so I can show you that. It is based upon where the instructor sits. And so North Carolina tax is going to be different from Washington tax. And so what I do, so for a training, I'm going to pull up another training that I did for somebody different. So this training, Lee actually lives in Minnesota, but when I set the training up, I wanted it billed based upon where the host organization was, so that they're paying their tax, because Minnesota's tax may be higher than Wyoming. I don't know, and I don't need to dig that up. So I set it for where that host organization is. So if I'm the host organization, so if it's me doing a training for folks here in North Carolina, then I'm just going to put my North Carolina as the location. But that just gives you an example of how to adjust the tax piece so that it corresponds with where, especially if it's a host organization that you're training outside of your state, they'll be billed at their tax rate.
So I get an email. I'm new to Connect. I get an email that says, here's your invoice. I click on complete your invoice or complete, and then I send that screen to the agency.
Forward the whole email.
Just forward the whole email. Okay, got it.
For the whole for the whole email. So if you see here, that's what Megan did. She forwarded, the email came from MHFA orders. She forwarded the whole thing directly to me, and then I'll be doing reconciliations tonight. I'll click.
You were the one that clicked it.
Yep, I
Okay.
just clicked it. Yep. Yep, so that's it. And it works really well. Another, yeah, so I'm gonna put a pin there. Megan, will you pin purchasing manuals for participants? If you just make a note of that, because that's something that if I have time,
Oh,
I'll
like,
talk about.
is there a function to pin, or you just want me to like note that?
No, just note that. I'm sorry.
All right, one
I'm-
more time. Pin what?
Just note how to make purchases for participants.
Okay, okay.
If we have time, I'll cover that.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So that's tracking document. The other thing that we had, so course content template. So in Connect, and I think the best way to do this is I'm going to do this quick course, set up this course. So in Connect, if you notice, and when you're doing, okay, let me back up. So for those of you that haven't used Connect to set up a course first, if you use Cornerstone, you probably remember the user guide and it was horrible. It didn't flow and make sense. The new user guide for Connect is so easy to follow. So I'm going to see if I can find it first so I can put it in the chat. If you haven't downloaded it from your Connect resources, please do so. Because if you literally, I sat down the first time and did step by step, and there was no, if this, go to this page, everything was very straightforward and in order. So let me, let's see, let me put that in the chat for you. Okay. Connect user guide, here we go. All right, so that's the user guide. So when you're setting up a new course, I'm gonna go ahead and start one here. Probably won't finish it, but so I have a new course, as I mentioned, that's happening on February 23rd. I think that's the date. Well, I can make a fake date. So when you log into Connect, I've got a lot more here. I'm going to put them in alphabetically so it kind of shows. So you can sort these alphabetically. And so once you start training a lot, like I've coordinated a lot and done a lot of training since we started Connect. It shifts in terms of where the templates end up on the page. So if you sort by A to Z, the templates will come up first. And again, these steps are also outlined in Connect, but let's see. So I am going to set up a blended adult course. So you have a template, and the reason they say do not modify is because you'll modify it, but you'll save it as a different name because you want to always keep this template copy here. And so you'll copy, select the course that you want to copy it to a draft. And once you do that, it takes a couple of seconds for it to show up. But I usually will refresh and it'll pop up. And so now you'll see template copy. So this is the one that I want to edit, right? So once you copy it, you edit it, you edit the name. And so there's a formula that they have for how they want the course's name. And so this is the course date. And then at the end, it's the instructor's name. And so since I've got two instructors, I'm just going to put oh gosh. Why did I just lose his name? Decker. Okay. So you change the name and then the next we'll delete that. And so this is the first step for setting up your course. And once you change the name and you delete this course reference code, you save it. And so now you have the bones of the template for your new course. The next document that I'm going to drop in the chat is how I've customized the course template into a Word document, and I copy and paste and put it in this area put it in where I need it to be. So I'll put this in next. Oh, Lord. I wish stuff would go back immediately to the last file you were in, but it doesn't. So here we are. Nope. That's the connect checklist that Michelle does. That's not the one I was talking about, but here is the content description. So the course content description, I got to stop and do a new share because I don't think that's coming up. So I copy and paste from a Word document just so that I'm consistent. And the template I will show you. So once you do that, so I'm not going to be the trainers for this course on can y'all see Connect? Just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. I'm not going to be the instructor for this course. So I want to change that owner to Angie. Come on, be slow. And if you just, if you start typing the name, I should have probably just typed her last name. They'll come up and then you select the one that you want to select there. And that's all we have to do. So it keeps the course in my list as the coordinator, but then Angie will see it and Connect when she logs in. So she's the coordinator. She's the main instructor. You have to save it after each step. You'll see that green button pop up. And then to go back a step, you click back to info. And then custom course data is the next thing that you want to update. So Angie's going to have a co-instructor. So I list the co-instructor here and I list their email. So this doesn't pre-populate like the course owner does. So you have to copy and paste or type it in here. And Don has trained for me so much I have his email address memorized. So put his email address and put the co-instructor's email address there. This is blended course with virtual ILT. You can select the intended audience. It's not required. And this, because I'm tracking, I want to be able to pull a report. I'm tracking Federal Highway. I'm just going to put Federal Highway for right now. I put the organization in here. And again, unless it has a red asterisk, you don't have to fill these in. Okay, if it's a training where you don't want it open to the public, and what I mean by that is it shows up on the website and anybody from wherever can sign up. If you don't want that to happen, then select no. If you select yes, it's going to post as a course that's open to the public and anybody anywhere in the United States can sign up. You don't have to select whether it's full, but I'm going to say yes because they'll fill up. And I don't typically fill in anything else here except for, so ILT, venue name or URL. Some people have said, oh, I put the Zoom link here. Do not put the Zoom link where it says ILT venue name, because anybody that sees your course can click that link and show up on training day and they haven't done any of the pre-work. So what I do here, either leave it blank, I put remote just because, but don't put your Zoom link on this particular tab under course, custom course content. And so so step 2 is done. And then the next thing that you have to do is set up the information so that when they complete their pre-work, they'll be able to, and are able to get to the instructor-led Zoom link, they'll be able to find that here. So this page, when you click on the content tab, these modules, there are 13. So the pre-work is considered modules 1 through 9. 1 and 2, they just need to click through and read. 3 is an evaluation. 4 is the opinions quiz that we used to do at the paper copy. Module 5 is the majority of the pre-work. So that's what I call Computer Lady, the animated slides. So if they get through module 5, they will have completed 38% of the pre-work. Okay. Because what Connect does, they considered 100% completion means you've done everything down through module 13. So 38% means they've gotten through animated computer lady. Module 6 is where they access the manual. They just need to click that and move on. 7 is they review the template. They review the exit ticket. They don't have to complete this. You still do this during the instructor-led training, but this just says to them, your instructor is going to review this with you during the training. 9 is where they access the PPG. So even if you're going to put a copy in the chat during the instructor-led training, they still have access to this so they can come back here afterwards. And so once they've done 1 through 9, that puts them at that magic number of 69% that you've probably seen mentioned in the Facebook group. So this is what National Council means by 69% of the pre-work must be completed before they can attend the instructor-led session. So I still tell folks, you got to do 69% to get to that link, because my personal, this is just Ruby, I don't send the link out to people individually because I want them in the system so they can get used to it, because afterwards they're going to need to know how to navigate it. So if they said, oh, I've done the pre-work and it says I'm at only did 38%. And I'm like, yep, that you got through the major content, but you still need to open up 6 through 9 so you can get to step 10. Right. And so step 10 is where they'll go when they log in on the day of the training to access the course, the course link. And I'm not going to fill this in, but I just want to kind of show you. Each course you set up automatically starts on January 1st, 2022. So you'll need to make sure you change this date for each course that you do. And this particular group, because I'm doing it based off of Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. So I'm going to set then the time there. We always leave capacity at 30. We don't change it. And we don't do anything here with instructor. This is the description, so that the Connect content description file that I just put in, this is where I update. So you can just copy and paste the information here. And so I'm going to do that real quickly. So I just delete that, paste my own information in. And then it says it has information that I want it to have. So I include my training times here, just so that when they get here, they know this is when you're expected to be here, and you're expected to attend 100% to get certification. I list instructors' names, and then I put the date of the instructor-led training. So here it'll be February 23rd. And then so Angie then will add the Zoom link here herself. So if you're coordinating for a lot of instructors, the course owner or that lead instructor, they need to create the Zoom link in their own Zoom account, because I learned a lesson the hard way. I had a contract with University of Chicago Laboratory Schools. We did 6 concurrent sessions in one day. And initially I was like, okay, I'm going to create them all in my Zoom account to make it, as easy as possible on my instructors. Zoom will only run 2 meetings concurrently in one Zoom account. So the other 4 instructors, as we were approaching 8:30 start time, they could not get in because those other 2 meetings were going. So lesson learned, if you are coordinating a lot of instructors, have them do their own Zoom link. They can either put it in or they can send it to you to put in, but create it in their own account. And then I put my information here so that they can contact me. So that's just kind of a quick overview of setting it up in Connect. One other thing with Connect that I think is helpful around managing courses is, how do you track where folks are with their pre-work? So the next document I'm going to put in the chat is, is a template that I use for, I'm going to put the template that I use that I send to hosts You can also adapt it to send to participants, but I'm also putting another one in here that Michelle Pylan had in the files of the Facebook group for what she uses. And then the last document are the automatic emails that Connect sends out. So what I want to do next, let me just show you what, stop share. So what I do with my hosts, oops. What I do with my hosts, because again, they're the ones responsible for following up with their participants. Because it's about, for me, what I've decided, even though they're paying me to coordinate, but the coordination fee is really setting up the course, enrolling people, tracking that information. It's not the one-on-one, the individual back and forth with participants. So the host agrees to do this. So I send them an email when I send the invites out, that I tell them where the email is coming from, and the steps that participants need to do. They need to accept the invite, accept the terms of agreement, and create their profile. And then step 3 is important because a lot of participants think, oh, I did my profile, but my pre-work is not showing up. And so I'm very clear, once they do that, it takes me time to, then I have to enroll them before it shows up. So that just lets them know to expect a delay there. So typically what I say is this: I enroll every 48 business hours until this December 8th was 2 days before the training happens. Because I try to stay within that 2-day, that 48-hour guidance that the National Council has provided. And then the last day that they can accept the course is highlighted there. If they haven't accepted the invite, the pre-work and invite by that date, then I unenroll them from the class. I'm glad you find that helpful, Suzanne. So this kind of just, I'm very specific with my host. And so you can use something similar with communicating to your participants. And I like Michelle's document too, because she does a lot more open community trainings for King County. So use what works. I think between the two, you can find a version that you can adapt to works best for you. And then I highlight when they need to complete the pre-work. And then I say this pre-work must be completed before and I put the date for the instructor-led session. And I list out which each of the modules are. Again, it's giving them some context. And so the hope is, as the host, or even as the participant, because I have sent some participants for community training I did, this same email, this helps them understand, once you do that, this is where you are. So in the back of my mind, I'm saying, don't email me, follow directions, right? And sometimes they don't, right? But part of my responsibility, in my opinion, is provide them with as much information as they need to try to be successful on their end. So I'm not having to do as much hand holding. And then I tell them what they need to do after the course. And this is the piece where I kind of outline the percentages. So 31% means they've finished module 4, have started module 5, those animated slides. 38, they've completed 5. And so after the course, when you go back in and mark them as attended, it goes to 77%. And so then when they do those last 3 modules, then they will have reached 100% of their Connect work. So again, that's which is one piece of document that works for me. So Celia, to answer your question, yes, Connect has been up and running since October 1st. And yes, you can, as long as you have, if you have access, have been granted access to Connect, and you've done the onboarding, which is kind of a tutorial similar to what I'm doing, but a lot more detail. If you've done that process, then you should be able to, yes, set up your courses.
Sorry. So if I lost access, I just have to reapply for it.
Okay, tell me what you mean by lost access.
So I think they had sent it to me, and then I kind of like wasn't paying attention that this whole thing was transitioning. So I need to get into that platform so I can do the onboarding, so I can do this tutorial, so I can
Okay.
start scheduling my classes.
Right. So then you will need to see if you can find one of the last emails that you got from the National Council, because what they have done, each email that they've sent out at the very bottom will have, if you still need access to connect, click here. If you put your email address in the chat, I'll make a note to look for that link in an old email.
Okay,
And so-
thank you.
And so what that will mean for you, so today an email went out to all instructors kind of telling us how they're rolling out the full in-person of the new updated curriculum. So folks that have completed the Connect onboarding, have done some training in Connect, we will start seeing the onboarding for the full in-person updated course today. And actually I checked mine before this training and it's there. If you haven't done anything in Connect, you're going to be in phase 2 or 3. Phase 2 is going to be, I think it's January. Let me pull it up before I speak out of turn. Hold on. I'm going to say I think it's late January. It's going to be, yep, it's not in my downloads. I think it's late January for phase 2. Phase 3, and that's going to include new
31st.
instructor. 31st.
I just
Thank you,
looked at
Megan.
it. Yep.
And then phase 3 is going to be folks that haven't done anything. So I'll make sure I send that email out to they have a fact sheet. Let me see.
I'm looking for the link. I'm looking through the emails now to post it.
Okay.
for Celia
Thank
and
you.
other folks.
Thank you. All right, so let me look at Suzanne's question here. If you have not activated your account, please do so by locating the invitation email sent to you, right, which should have come from. Perfect. Thank you, Suzanne, for posting that there.
Great.
I still need to onboard, but have not scheduled training. Would you please email me the link for, yep. Perfect. Yep. So we'll make sure folks get that. So yes, it's important to pay attention to those emails now, especially that the full in-person training update is ready for folks to onboard. Let me look at my next thing that I wanted to cover. I talked about the enrolling process and kind of how I manage that. And so that, again, that's what works for me. The other piece that's important, because I want to get to a couple of the questions before we run out of time. I'm going to share my screen here. So participants will probably say, I don't know what to answer. Oops, I don't want to do full screen. I don't know what the answer for this. So when they go to enroll, when they go to do their profile, they click the link to accept the invitation and they have to do a profile. It'll ask for some demographic data up here. This first question, and see if I can get a little bit bigger. What brings you to Mental Health First Aid Connect? The wording is really wonky, but they want to select the option that says, I am certified or earning my certification in adult or youth. A lot of people see I am certified and say, oh, that's not me. Important for them to continue reading, because folks will email you and say, none of these apply to me. I don't know what to put. So make sure they select the one that says certified or earning my certification. Okay. Certified or earning their certification. And then they need to say no, particularly if it's a public organization. Most folks that we train are not going to be part of a member organization. A member of the National Council is what they're asking about here. So just tell them to put no. If they don't know, just put no. If they do know, yeah, my business is, yeah, then they can put yes. But most folks, it's going to be no. So just have them put no there. Those are the two questions that folks get the most, instructors get the most questions about, especially this one. What brings you to Connect? I am earning my certification. So have them select that one. Okay. Let's see. And this file that I just showed you, that document is also in the mental health, the virtual Facebook group files area. Let's see. I'm going to look at, I'm just going to share the questions from the spreadsheet real quick. So, and kind of talk about a couple of these. So common problems instructors have with the Connect platform. I think most common problem is not understanding what information needs to go where. And so that's why I mentioned earlier, make sure you download that Connect users guide, because it has every single step that you need to go by. So even before, what I will say to, even before you post a question in the Facebook group, look through that guide first, because when I tell you I was so happy about how easy it was to follow, because it had, the other one wasn't. So read through that guide first. The other problem I think is folks trying to figure out how to navigate the enrollment process, because when a participant accepts the invite and sets up their profile, you don't get a notification saying, hey, Ruby has accepted her invitation. And so that's why a lot of folks are saying, oh my goodness, I've got to be in this every single day. And you don't. And so I think as instructors, it's okay for us to set boundaries with folks that are attending our trainings, because I know for many of you, this is only a portion of your job, right? And so how can you be more effective in all aspects of the work that you're doing? And so that's why I'm very clear. If I send an invite to, let's say, if I sent an invite yesterday, I will enroll within the next 24 hours. That's my first goal. So I'll check end of the day, end of business day today, for instance. Then I won't touch it again until Monday. And so that's where that 48 hours comes in, because otherwise every hour I'm looking, because you don't get those emails. So just really be strategic and think about, for you, how can you best use your time, and what those guidelines are going to look like for you, and communicate that to your participants. It's absolutely okay for us to set boundaries as instructors. I want everybody trained as much as I can, but I'm not going to work my fingers to the bone in the process. And so, yep, Megan just put it there. My philosophy on mental health first aid, I'm not going to work harder on getting this certification that you are. And I think it's okay for us to tell participants that. They do it for other trainings that they attend, right? Other required trainings. And so I think that those are the most common problems. How long do you give them to accept the invitation? And I think I've kind of outlined that a little bit. So if they haven't accepted it within 48 business hours before the instructor-led course, I withdraw them. And what I do, there's a way to go in and cancel the invitation. But that's what I do. That's what I do. So if they've been enrolled and they haven't started, I unenroll them. If they haven't accepted the invite, I go in and cancel that invite. So even if they click that link, they're not going to be able to get in. And again, that's just what works for me. I don't email them that I'm filling the spot. That's why I do a lot of this. The communication on the front end is important for me, so that I'm setting the expectation, letting them know whether it's the participant or the host. Yeah. So to your point, Nelson, really good question. So how do I know they've accepted? So that, I'm glad you asked that. I'm going to answer that real quickly. So let me find, there's one course I need to see if this guy actually accepted his. So what I do, each course, I go into each individual course, and to enroll them in the course, you have to go to content and then instructor-led session. And then you click on manage attendees. I have one person who hadn't accepted his stuff. So you go to actions and then you add user. And these are the steps that are in Connect in the user guide. And then I start typing their name. So here he is, he finally did it. So Craig John did. Then I go, if there's somebody else, and there's nobody else to add, but I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna search for another person. And I'm gonna say it's Laura Hicks. So you can then just continue to go down. So that's why I use that spreadsheet. Let me get the right one. Let me stop sharing. There's the spreadsheet that I have. I don't think I shared it with you all yet. Let me get it. Hold on. That's what happens when I get off. I don't pay attention to my list. I forget to mention something. So this is the document that I didn't share with you all. So I'm glad you asked your question. So I track participant name, email address, when I sent their invite, if I had to resend it, and this is where I track the status of their pre-work. So I literally, I'm going to show you an example for one that I just did for this course that we're looking at right now. So I go in and I track. So for instance, Natasha, she was enrolled, and this was 2 days ago. She was, so I tracked when I enrolled her in the class. And so when I sent them their update on the 11th, they knew she had logged in, but she hadn't started. So I go down this list and just start typing email addresses in. And until I get everybody on that list that I want there. So I'm going to take Laura off because she's not there. So Craig, and then I enroll. That's what works for me. I know there are other people that go through the users list, dashboard and users. That's too much for me because at this point I've probably coordinated 35 trainings since October or done trainings. There are too many people for me to go through the users list. Now you can search here using email address, but the problem that the thing I'm worried about by doing it that way, I'm scared I'm going to put them in the wrong class. So that's why I enroll by each class. So yes, that means for the class training I did for the University of Chicago in November, where we had 6 concurrent sessions, I went through each class, enrolled. I did all of group 1, went to group 2. That's just how my brain processes information easier. It's really trial and error, Nelson, and just thinking about what works best for you. And that's for me, going course to course, my brain processes it easier because then when I'm done with course 1, put it away, I can go to the next course. Good question. But I'm glad you brought that up because I would have forgot to mention my mention that document. And I'll put that document in the chat too. All right, Megan, any other questions come in to you?
Well, no, Verna just wanted to know about, yeah, I'm not muted. She just wanted to know about, making exceptions for people once you've taken them out. And for me personally, especially with the stuff that I have coming up, I'm pretty firm because I give them a lot of time. And I can say you're free to look for another course, or here's some other courses that are available in your area, or, but I just, it's my personal preference because I want them to recognize that this is an important thing, and, they need to take it seriously. So if I've given you, a month or however long I've done it and sent you multiple reminders, and then you're begging me at the last moment, I'm kind of like, sorry, that's like a natural consequence,
Yeah.
Do they have to pay for the class again, or does the person who's paying for the class have to pay for it again?
So that's a really good question. So if they complete the pre-work and don't show up for the instructor-led course, they do have to pay again, because with the new system, the pre-work you can't transfer it over to another class. So they lose it. They have to do it all over again. I have made the rare exception one time for a participant who, they were listed, there was a fluke with Connect and they were listed twice. So I went to mark 1 as a no-show and mark 1 as attended. And when I marked the second one as a no-show, it unenrolled both of them, both of their profiles. So because I refused to make them sit through and do the pre-work again, I begged the National Council. I was like, can you please allow me to re-enroll them after the class? And they did. And then I sat here and just clicked through the training for them because they'd done it. The issue was Connect, because it created a duplicate file and then unenrolled them even when I didn't want to. But yeah, so even if they show up, or if they don't show and they've done the pre-work, they will have to, unfortunately, right now, do it all over again and pay the second time.
I mean, I find it a little challenging. I understand why a national council does it But I find it challenging that there's no wiggle room for a sick child or, something that comes up that you can't go to the next course. But on the other
Right.
hand, I also don't want people, flipping it, if I'm managing 4 courses, I don't want, every other moment somebody flipping to, oh, can I take it? Can I come to the next course or do the next thing? That's just too much for me to manage.
Right. And so what I think they're doing to, just in some of the conversations I've been in on as a national trainer, I think that as they're figuring this out, and of course they're starting to realize, things are going to happen. I think they're collecting this information so they can go back to Learn Upon, who owns Connect, to say, okay, how can we make this work so we can transfer stuff? I think their main thing was, let's ditch Cornerstone because it was bad. Let's get people started, even though it's not where we want it to be. They are continuously updating stuff. And so as frustrating as it is, I just encourage people to try to be as patient as you can, but also say to the National Council, now y'all have waited too long on some stuff. So yeah. Go ahead, Suzanne, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was curious. The last couple of classes I taught, I checked before the class and they hadn't completed all of the pre-work. At the end of the class, they sent me emails with an email from National Council saying they had completed everything, but I didn't let them into my instructor-led session. And I don't know, it happened in my last 2 classes with 2 people in each class that.
So what I typically do, Suzanne, in that situation, what I would recommend is when they reach out to you, let me share my screen. And if I'm going to finish the rest of the questions if folks want to stay, but if you need to leave, please do so and I'll follow up with an email afterwards. But don't feel like you have to stay. So what I have done, let me find one. This is a good one. So this class is currently in session. So what I typically recommend is going to the course, go to enrollments.
Yep.
And see where they are, right? Mm-hmm. And so even though let's say theirs didn't say 69%, view enrollment data, and then I just need to look and see where they are. Because what I think happens with Connect, once they do module 5,
yeah,
I think that's when the automatic email, congratulations, you've completed the pre-work.
Oh.
So technically they have, because that's the content, but
okay.
Theoretically they have, but technically they haven't, because they still 6, 7, 8, and 9 are still considered part of the pre-work to get to 69%.
Because I tell them that your green indicator bar should be at 69%. You have to do the first 9 modules.
Yeah.
But then they send me the email saying they'd completed it, and I felt like a jerk because I didn't let them into the class.
I think that's what it is. So I would just say, go in and look, because I think this is where the email is generated once they've, which is stupid. So maybe that's one of those processes they'll figure out how to work around. But I think that may be where the email is generated, because that's technically content, but 6 through 9 are considered pre-work, which it shouldn't be. But
all right, I just felt bad. I'm like, there's nothing I can do. You'd be welcome to take it again, but they were, a couple of them were okay, a couple of them were just really angry. But
yeah, and so
thank you.
You're welcome. So what I will do, I will say to folks, so even if I have somebody, let's say you and Megan work together, and Megan's like, here's a link. So if you show up and you've only done the module 5 at the beginning of my training, I'll say, if you haven't opened up modules 6, 7, 8, and 9, be sure to do so, because you're not going to, because after and I'll let them stay, but they won't be able to get to the final exam, the knowledge check, and the course evaluation until they do 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Right. Okay. All right. Because I just didn't let them in at all.
Yeah. Let's see. You're welcome, Patrice. I'm glad it's helpful. Let's see, Steph, why do I have some participants in pending and users? Okay. Pending and users section. This is the difference between the two. So let me share my screen. So when you go to the users tab, you have users and pending users. So users mean anybody that you have enrolled in a mental health first aid class from start to finish, from any point, right? So you've sent them the invite, they've accepted it, you've enrolled them in a class. So if you coordinate or teach a lot of classes, every person for every training that you have ever enrolled will show up on this page. And it's why I don't even know how many pages mine are, but it's probably like 10 pages long, at least. Pending users means you've sent them the invite, but they haven't accepted it. And so you see here, and actually it's not just the pending users, what I've learned, it's everybody.
Okay.
So
Okay.
all instructors.
But if it's in the users,
I think it may be all instructors here too. Let me look.
okay.
Yep,
Alrighty.
it is all instructors here because I don't know these people. I
Okay,
don't know.
perfect.
And so what I do, especially if I'm looking at pending users, so let me show y'all this trick here. So pending users, you can, I do by newest invite first, last invite sent, sorting by newest first.
Mhm.
And so this will show, so if I had sent some invites today, it will have them here for me. But this is everybody that has sent invites on January 13th, even though
Okay.
they're not in any of my classes. So connect, for whatever reasons, groups everybody in users, and we can all view them. Which,
Okay.
yeah. So I just kind of pay it. That's why I use the search button.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and so that way I'm pulling up my people.
All right, because people are saying that they haven't received my invite yet. So I'm going to go back and I might have to delete everybody and start over because I did something.
Well, what you can do, Stephanie, go in and search. Let me do this. No, because Emma's already done. So you can go in and search. I wish there was somebody. Let me see if I can find somebody that may have been a pending course. Hold on, let me stop sharing real quick. I want to show you an example of what, well, you know what? Let me see something. Okay, I can do it regardless. So what you can do, so if somebody says, oh, I haven't gotten your invite, do a search for their name. When their name comes up, so I'm just going to use this first person. When their name comes up, these three dots on the right, if you click those, you can have the system automatically resend it. Or I use this. I use user not getting email,
gotcha.
Copy the link, and then in my email back to Stephanie, here's your direct link. Click this and accept your invitation.
Gotcha. Just really quick. So there's one person I keep doing that for, or I can't acquire that. It keeps coming up red saying she's in there twice or she's already a user. There's this red note that comes up at the bottom when I click her name.
Send me an email on her, Stephanie, and we'll jump on a Zoom and I'll take a look at it because it may be there's got to be something special going on with her situation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Let's see. All right, Nelson, go right ahead.
Okay, so I'll make this quick. So I have my first training in Connect on the 28th of this month. I enrolled everyone in there and I'm actually in Connect right now. And I believe I did something wrong because when I go to where you would look up who has accepted the invitation, it doesn't list any enrollments.
Okay.
0.
Let's do this quickly. Nelson, if you'll share your screen with what you're seeing, because I'm a visual learner.
Yep.
And this may be helpful for folks too, as they just kind of see this. All right. I'm gonna be looking away from y'all at the camera because I need to put this on my big screen. All right.
Can you see my screen?
Okay.
So you'll see there's 0 enrolled, 0 pending.
So go to content, click on the content tab, go down to instructor-led session, module 10.
Oh, there we go.
All right, and then this is why. So when you click on the content section, if the blue manage participants button is not showing, it means you haven't published the course. So look, I did it because I emailed them. I was like, I did this one class and it worked, and now it's not showing up. What happened? They were like, Ruby, you didn't publish the course. So yeah, so go back to your courses tab or go back to info.
Okay.
And then on actions, well, first of all, before you do this, take template out of your title. Take the word template out.
Oh, oops, I meant to do that.
That's okay.
I actually watched the video multiple times.
And then you can change this later, but put your date at the beginning. They use the date. It's 01/28/2021. So that's the format they gave us. Put that at, and because what it'll do, when you sort alphabetically,
Like
or
that?
by date, yep, it'll group everything easier for you. Yep, and it's 22. Thank you, Suzanne.
Oh,
22.
you're right. And that is actually the first time I put 21 instead of 22 so
See,
far.
we're helping each other.
Man, like that.
That's it. And then that course reference, delete that course reference code section, delete the text that's in there.
Okay.
Perfect. Go ahead and click save. Now, do you have yourself listed under additional settings?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. So you're the first, so that works because so then go back, click back to info. No, wrong one.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. We'll get there. So, and then under custom course data, did you list Terry as your co-instructor? Perfect. All right. So now you see, okay, just below on the left-hand side, just below the mental health first, yep, click that back to info button. Now go to actions on the top right and publish your course.
Okay, and I'll tell you what's interesting is I verified with 2 people yesterday that they actually got the email from.
Yeah. So you sent the invite. So you sent the invite allowing them to set up their Connect profile. So once they do that, now you have to enroll them in the class. So it's 2 steps. You go in once to send the invite under the users tab, and then you go. So now if you go to content.
Okay.
And you should see the blue manage course. Now go down to instructor-led session. And your blue manage, so now you see the blue manage attendees. So now
I have to put them in.
Put them in here. That's it.
Okay. I knew I obviously missed a step. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So yeah,
but this is still easier than Cornerstone.
Absolutely is.
Just be kind to yourself, guys. You know, it just takes some time, and use the resources and the connections that you've made for those questions. We all do. We all mess up.
This is actually good experience for me because our organization is building our own LMS system right now for the rest of our trainings.
Yeah. And so Megan is exactly right. Again, the example, what just happened with Nelson's class, I had probably at that point coordinated 8 or 10 trainings. And the problem was I had like 6 coming up, and I was clicking. I was like, well, why can't I enroll people? And I was so embarrassed because I called my contact at the National Council. I was like, listen, I don't know what y'all did over there, but you need to fix it. And they came back like, girl, you didn't publish. I was like, Lord.
But that was realistically very small little things that had to be corrected.
It makes a huge difference, right? So yeah, so the more you do it, you'll get more familiar with it. Probably the first 4 trainings, I sat down with that Connect guide every time. And I was like, step 1, 2, and then your brain, it's muscle memory. It really is muscle memory. Any other questions? Because I'm gonna do a quick reminder about something that Megan put in the chat. So continue to use the Facebook group is a great resource. What I will say, as I say to all folks that I talk with, that I do instructor support and coaching with, don't allow folks that are frustrated to dampen your passion for this work, right? we all at some point go into some Facebook group somewhere, complain like, oh my goodness, I just need to fuss about. And we need that safe space to do that, but don't allow that also to dampen your passion. And because I've had folks say, oh, I'm not going to touch Connect until they figure it out. And then I'm like, log on, let's do a Zoom. They're like, oh my goodness, it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be, right? And so it is a lot easier than Cornerstone ever was. It requires a little bit of extra work on our part with the enrolling piece. But the one thing I say again that I said at the very beginning, as instructors, we have the ability to say to our participants, these are the guidelines. I'll enroll at this point. I'll enroll again at that point, so that you're not in it every single day. You should not make this be more work than you are already doing. And so it's hard to set boundaries because we're like, oh, I don't want to make an exception and I'll check tomorrow. Of course, you're going to make, like, there's a group that I will make it, I'll say every 48 hours, but I go in it probably every day at the end of the day before I log out. But I don't tell them that because they don't get their report until the 48-hour mark, right? And so there are times when I do a little extra, but try not to let this stress you out to the point where you're like, I don't want to do this training. It's too much. There are resources available. And the last thing that I'll mention is that Megan mentioned, we are actually, because both of us have had a lot of folks reach out to us over the last 2 years that really want some ongoing coaching support. We're putting together a coaching program. And it's going to be twofold. So it's going to be, one component is really going to focus on folks that want to be an independent instructor. And so we'll talk about everything from how do I start this as a money-making business? What do I need to consider? And kind of walk alongside you with that in that journey. But also another piece is going to be for folks that are just like, I just need coaching as an instructor, right? Now I work for an agency. I just need somebody to help coach me so that I'm getting information from one place and somebody that can help me develop processes that work for me. And so she put the information in the chat for that. If you're interested, we'd love to have you join us on February 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. We've got 3 time offerings to be respectful of where folks are, but also feel free to email me if you just have a quick question as well. And I'll put my email in the chat as well. It's like Stephanie mentioned before she jumped off. Stephanie and I and her colleague, Ricky, we've had regular meetings where they're like, okay, something's not working. And I was like, okay, let's jump on a Zoom real quick and we'll figure it out, right? And so just know, I'm always in the Facebook group. You can PM me if you have specific questions. You can email me, but we're in this together, and whatever we can do to support you all in that, we are happy to do. Last reminder, put your email in the chat if you haven't, so I can email you all of those documents that I shared. I'll make sure to include the link to the SSL virtual Facebook group for those that aren't in that group. And if no further questions, oh, Sue, you know what? I just realized I'm going to be your NT for your group next week.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, you're teaching my adult class.
I am. I didn't recognize it as Suzanne, but when I saw the email, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I coordinate for almost everybody in the state of New Hampshire, and I've been teaching youth for a couple months, and now I'm going to do the adults.
Cool,
so.
Fabulous. Yeah, I did. I think a youth group for you all several months ago. But So I'm glad to make a connection before.
Yeah. So I'll see you next week.
Yes, indeed. So
thank
you all again. I'll hang around if there are any last minute questions, but feel free to drop off as need be, and you will hear from me by email soon.
This has been fabulous. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Verna.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Nelson.
Yeah, thank you. This was great. I'm going to be we do an instructor meeting. It's for all my instructors, and the next thing I need to do is some kind of little walk through of how to set up the class. So
reach out and let me know.
I'll go to their thing and get ideas.
There you go. Reach out and let me know if I can.
Never start from scratch when you can steal from us or something.
Yeah.
Steal from other people.
I was thinking I might just Zoom by myself and Zoom, but tape it and then they could show it to them. I don't
Yeah,
know.
do it.
You can. Yeah,
know,
reach
like-
out because I can share some of the things I've done with folks here in North Carolina when I was the coordinator
Yeah.
too. It was
All
before
right,
online, but still some similar stuff.
yeah, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Take care. See you next
All right,
week.
take care. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Ruby, I'm gonna head out too then.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.